Alright guys, welcome back to the Everything College Football Podcast. Today, we're going to be looking at my pre-Week 7 top 10 power rankings. These are not resume-based. These are just top to bottom, who I think the top 10 teams in the country currently are. Still a lot of football to be played, though. A lot of teams really have yet to be tested. Some have kind of had easy paths to this top 10. Others have been challenged. So, it's kind of vague, but this is what I'm feeling right now. So, going and getting things started at number 10, the Kentucky Wildcats. You look at this team, they're playing a really good offense. The acquisition of Wan'Dale Robinson has paid massive dividends for the Wildcat offense. Will Levis as well. They haven't had many passing yards over the last couple of weeks, though. Levis, he has yet to throw, over the last 3 weeks, he has yet to throw for over 200 yards. But he's been taking care of the football. He's been effective. They're efficient more so. Mainly, though, this running game is what makes this offense so good. Chris Rodriguez, he was one of the nation's top backs from last year, and he's lived that up so far. One of the top runners in terms of yardage. He's just doing so good for the Wildcats, but it's so easy when you're running behind this great offensive line. Darian Kennard, massive player at right tackle. We all knew about him coming into the year. They added Dare Rosenthal late in the offseason. He's been so good for them left tackle. And they have great size on the interior offensive line. Right now, they're averaging 31 points per game. They have yet to average actually over 30 points per game in a single season under Mark Stoops. So right now, they're on pace to accomplish that. This offense, they play Georgia on Saturday. We'll see how they do. So far, I really like what they're doing, not just on offense, but defense. It's really been the story of this football team, this front seven. You got linebackers Jarquez Jones, DeAndre Square, a lot of veterans all around. Yusuf Coker in the back end. These guys have not allowed much. Only 3 plays of 20-plus yards on the ground. For example, the team they play on Saturday, Georgia, only 1. So they've been very good in the trenches. The back end, they rank first in 20 and 30-plus yard receptions allowed. In all of college football, they're first. This secondary is playing very good football. You look at Josh Pascal on the defensive end. Nice little edge rushing duo, him and Weaver. These guys, it's the real deal. I like this defense. I like what they're doing so far. And I think right now they're a top 10 team. No slouch because they can run the ball, they can play defense, and Levis can air it out. They just haven't been very effective as of late, but he's more than capable of playing good football for this defense, for this offense. Michigan State is at number 9. They added a handful of transfers on both sides of the ball in the offseason. It's done wonders for this football team. I originally thought Anthony Russo would get the start at quarterback. It's been Peyton Thorne all the way. He's playing very good. Calm, cool, collected, good downfield passer, averaging 261 yards a game, not turning the ball over. And then, he's handing it off to Kenneth Walker, leads the nation in rushing yards right now, 913, along with 9 scores, the Wake Forest transfer. He's so good at finding the end zone, but this year he's proven how well-rounded he is as a runner, doing big things for this offense. I was a big fan of this receiving core coming into the year. Ricky White has not played, but Jaden Red, Jalen Naylor, they've been phenomenal. They both have almost 500 yards of receiving. Their numbers are pretty much identical. They'll be up on the screen for you to check it out. Pretty much identical. Kind of reminiscent of last year's Ohio State, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave. Those guys both had very similar numbers. These guys for the Spartans are doing it right now. I think Trey Mosley's doing a pretty good job, too, as at number 3. Really like what this offense has. They haven't played a great group of opponents this year. And in the second half against Nebraska, they were held to, 5 yards? They had a red kickoff return touchdown that kind of helped them send it to overtime. They were able to capitalize. Kind of shaky. Not the greatest of schedule, but I think, again, this isn't resume-based, just kind of giving the facts here. This offense has been good, but, against a better quality defense, they kind of struggled. They looked really good against Rutgers. And that defense has been playing very well as of late. So this football team's really good on offense. You look at their defense. I like what they're doing. They're getting to the backfield, getting around to the quarterback. This defensive line was the best unit on the football team coming into the year. Jacob Hasnook has played very well at defensive end. I think, Xavier Henderson at safety, he's the really only veteran DB. And he's playing very well, though. He's getting to the backfield himself. He's making plays on the ball. He's one of the top tacklers on the team. The top tackler on the team, that is. You got a lot of the young guys stepping up. Cal Halladay, Quavarius Crouch, the transfer from Tennessee. So they got some guys really playing well. This defensive front is doing very good. Drew Beasley and Drew Jordan haven't been as impactful as I thought they would, but that's totally fine. Maverick Hansen at defensive tackle has really stepped up. Another freshman in Barrow has too. They got some nice little depth. Mel Tucker, as a defensive guru, as I guess you could say, He really specializes in this. These guys are playing very good. One thing I didn't mention was the offensive line. That was the biggest, besides the defensive line, the offensive line. I was looking so forward to how they would play early in the year, or in 2021 as a whole, and I think they've done very well. They got the nation's leading rusher. They're holding up in pass pro. Jarrett Horst coming over. He's been so good. A.J. Arcuri, he's progressing nicely. Matt Allen, the lineage he has at center. Very good right now for Michigan State. They are not allowing much, so they're the number 9 team in the country right now. At number 8, you go to the Spartans, in-state rival, and the Wolverines. These guys are doing so good. It's not a typical Jim Harbaugh football team. They possess one of the nation's top rushing attacks, but they've also gotten the passing game going a little bit. I want to focus on them. K. McNamara, I think he's playing very solid football. They've thrown it 30-plus times over the last 2 weeks on the road against Wisconsin and Nebraska. The biggest problem when they play Wisconsin is they can't ever run the ball, and then that allows their offense to be incredibly stagnant. They had 100-plus rushing, I believe, in that game, hard-fought yards, but they also delivered in the passing attack, 250-plus yards. A trio of scores. Cornelius Johnson was a big, deep threat for them. Robin Wilson has been stepping up. And again, against Nebraska, they got down late in that game. The defense was a big letdown in that second half, but their offense was able to bounce back with the passing game. Another 250-plus yarder from McNamara. McCarthy's taking a handful of snaps as well. These guys aren't turning the football over. That's the biggest thing for Michigan. Only a handful of turnovers on the year. I know McNamara threw his first pick on a miscommunication against Nebraska, but only 2 lost turnovers on the year in 6 games. And one of those was a garbage time interception by Alan Bowman when they were up 28 on Wisconsin. So these guys are not turning the ball over. They're running the ball extremely well. Blake Corum, Hassan Haskins, this is the nation's top duo right now, running back. That's no real debate. And it's their offensive line. Since week 1, I've noticed how good they were, and they've continued to get better. Andrew Vastardis at center, Andrew Stubner at guard, or at tackle, that is. A handful of youthful guys on that offensive front, but those 2 veterans have been so big for them. These guys are ranked first nationally in tackles for loss allowed. They're sealing the edge, shoring up the interior. There's a reason why they're able to run the ball as well as they are, and they've been doing it since week 1. All those same characteristics. Offense right now is very impressive, and what Jim Harbaugh's done with the quarterback situation, I think, he's handling it very well. McNamara's playing a bulk of the snaps. They're getting McCarthy involved. Very impressive stuff, because we're used to seeing this offense, be able to run the ball pretty well, I guess you could say. But even if they could or they couldn't, they've always been stagnant with how their QB play has been. But it's not been the case this year. You look to their defense. Of course, it wasn't very good against Nebraska in the second half. Gave up 29 points after shutting them out in the first frame. I mean, other than that, I think that was a good test for them. They've been very solid. They've not really had a massive test, I guess you could say, offensively before Nebraska. So they were holding up very nicely, though. Just Mike McDonald's scheme, these guys are really starting to fit in. Jeremy Green, Vincent Gray. In the back end, at corner, they're starting to fit into this zone-heavy scheme. I think they're converting very well. You got Brad Hawkins in the back end. Daxton Hill, probably the top safety duo in the Big Ten, doing phenomenal things for them. Josh Ross at linebacker. And then Aiden Hutchinson right now off the edge. He's probably one of the nation's top players at the moment. He's doing, 6 tackles for loss, 5.5 sacks. He's got a forced fumble in there. He's just a complete freak off the edge. You can go watch the Washington game. That great high potential offensive line for Washington, and he just kind of ate them up. So Michigan right now, I think they're doing pretty good. I would like to see that defense improve, though. I don't want to see more second-half breakdowns for this top 10 ranking to hold. Coming in at number 7, the Oklahoma Sooners. I feel like this might even be too high of a ranking for them, but they are undefeated. We'll give them their credit, but they have yet to win a game over an FBS school, that is, by more than 1 possession. So that's a big concern. You've seen what their offense did. It's over 660 yards of offense with Caleb Williams under center against Texas. Will that be sustainable? Who knows? They're often having a bit of a downfield passing game, though. Really freed up that run. The defense for Texas has been very sluggish this year, but Oklahoma's also not been able to run the ball at all. They're coming off a season-high 339. Kennedy Brooks got going for 200+. High potential offense. Rattler or Williams, who will be the starter? Well, who knows? Williams, he'll likely get the start this weekend, but, there's no guarantee he's going to play the same way he did against Texas, and then Rattler could be right back in it. It could be bad for the football team if Williams takes over and he struggles. These two great, highly rated, they're both number one rated quarterbacks coming out of high school. And if you really can't feed your offense through either of them, it's going to be kind of a concern for Lincoln Riley. I think it's a good problem to have, though. They'll eventually figure it out. It's good that they're winning, though. So, Eric Gray, I'd like to see him get more involved. He has yet to score a touchdown this year. He's not running very well. They're playing behind an offensive line with three seniors that they're not playing well whatsoever. They're not getting a push up front. Pass protection's been a little iffy. Of course, they had a breakthrough last week. Is that sustainable, though? I'm not sure. I do know Caleb Williams under center, though, with Marvin Mims finally got the football. He had to score a touchdown. He broke through big time against Texas. They're doing a good job of spreading it out, though. Mario Williams really stepped up in the absence of Theo Weiss, Jaden Hazelwood. They have 4 different guys with 20-plus receptions. So they're doing a good job of spreading it out. Again, though, how will this offense do the remainder of the year? It really remains to be seen, even though there is optimism with Williams. No guarantees by any means. The Oklahoma defense, they've really been trending downwards the last couple of weeks. My biggest question was, how long can this defense hold up while Oklahoma tries to find its footing on offense? Well, found out against Texas. They were down 28-7. It was about to be, bad news bears for them. The offense kind of wheeled them back. They also only gave up, 10 points in the second half against Texas, so they played much better. Open field tackling's been an issue. And then the biggest problem with this defensive line, they're doing a good job against the run. But overall, I'd like to see them do a better job of getting to the passer. This is the best defensive line that they have probably had under Lincoln Riley. They had a handful of games there over the last 3 weeks where they haven't been very solid. I think they did a good job in the second half against Casey Thompson. But, Perrion Winfrey, Nick Coe, Nick Bonito, Isaiah Thomas. This defensive line is absolutely stacked. Even have Jalen Redmond in there. This defensive line is legit. Another problem with Oklahoma, though, their secondary. You knew this would be an issue coming into the year. Turner Yell is one of their veterans. At corner, though, they're very depleted coming into the year, so it's no shock to see them struggling. But it's still a problem. They have the two veteran safeties. Pat Fields is the other. Billy Bowman, I know they're getting him involved at nickelback. They've given up 300-plus yards, 8 total touchdowns through the year in the last 2 weeks. Skylar Thompson, again, had a field day. They've not been very good at all in the back end. And it starts with this defensive line. They need to start getting a better pass rush. The linebackers need to be playing better in open field. I'm kind of concerned for this defense. Alex Grinch has a very good unit, though, in terms of talent, I think, in the front seven. So those guys should be able to set that tone. They need to start playing better, though. Oklahoma number 7 right now. I have Penn State at number 6. Sean Clifford with Mike Yurcich. They've been a very good combo so far this year. They maybe would have beat Iowa if it wasn't for his injury. They had 17 first-half points. The biggest problem I think a lot of people are overlooking is he ended the game as the leading rusher for the Nittany Lions against Iowa. And he didn't even play 2+ quarters. He only had 3 touches, too, so that's a big concern. They've not been running the ball very well whatsoever, which is very shocking. They have a quadricep of backs. Now, Kane, John, Levitt are the notables. This year, though, they have struggled immensely to run the ball. Against Iowa, Auburn, Wisconsin, those good defenses, terrible. They just have not been good. Even with Rasheem Walker at left tackle, the rest of this unit needs to step up. Mike Miranda, Eric Wilson. You need to see these guys start to get a better push because they should be running the ball a lot better than they are. Sean Clifford's doing a good job of being efficient, effective. Jahan Dotson, he's, of course, one of the nation's top receivers. Parker Washington, as expected, stepping up in the slot. Those guys have been immense for them. They're combining for almost, 13 receptions a game. No shock there. Jahan Dotson, streaky, deep threat. He can do whatever you want. The reason why this team is so respected, is their defense. These guys are just impressive. P.J. Mustapher is now out for the year at defensive tackle. That's a pretty big loss, but Arnold Ibikiti, the transfer from Temple, has played very good ball off the edge. Derek Tangelo, you're going to see him. He's going to have to step up now that Mustafer's gone. Jesse Loquetta, Brandon Smith, Ellis Brooks. This trio of linebackers might be the nation's best. Ellis Brooks is just phenomenal. Premier playmaker for them. Jaquan Brisker, all-conference safety, probably an all-American safety in the back end. He's playing very good football. The football IQ this year has really stood out for him. Jair Brown, he's another one of those. He's a safety as well. He's really showcased his ball skills this year. He's really stepped up. I think Joey Porter Jr. and Tariq Castro-Fields, these guys are really developing into one of the better corner duos in the conference. They're playing very well all around. I don't really think this defense has much of a weakness other than its offense not being able to run the ball and close out games. Of course, they just had that loss against Iowa. They had a double-figure lead deep in the third quarter against Iowa, and a team that doesn't have a great offense in the slightest, and they couldn't run the ball and close it out. That's going to be a problem here down the stretch, I think, for Penn State. They're going to have to figure that out. I trust Clifford, but against these better defenses, it's going to be a tough ask, even if he can do it, even if he is capable, because he is. I don't want to see that. I want to see the Penn State Nittany Lions be able to close out games on the ground. Number 6 for now. Number 5, Alabama Crimson Tide. Their offense, we'll just quickly go over. Bryce Young's having a really good year, 20 touchdowns, only 3 picks. I think he's making very good decisions. He's not made many attempts to run the ball. When he gets out of the pocket, he's looking downfield to make a play. I think his football IQ is really standing out this year. He's doing a good job of diagnosing coverage. Only 6 games into his career. It's not like he's making flashy plays by any means, but he's making good plays, the right reads. They're running the ball pretty well. Brian Robinson, over 100 yards per game. As a team, though, I guess as a team, they're not doing very well. Jace McClellan's going to be out for a while, meaning Roydale Williams, Trey Sanders. You're going to see those guys get involved. As a team, though, they're not doing as great in the trenches as I thought they would. I thought they would have no issues replacing, 3-4 starters on the offensive line. They kind of went with a completely different lineup than I expected. I expected Chris Owens to be the center. They have him at right tackle. They've been playing very solid, though. The defensive line, I expected this to be a wrecking crew. I expected the Tide to get back to playing typical defense the way they do, Alabama style. That's not been the case at all. They cannot really stop any of these powerful offenses in terms of nice body of work, built tough and strong in the interior. Florida, they almost had 250 yards rushing. They couldn't stop them. If there was more time in that game, Florida probably would have won. Because their offense slowed down in the second half. Their offense didn't show up in the first half against A&M. Picked it up late. They lost that game. A&M didn't top 100 yards rushing, but I thought they did a pretty good job of moving the pile consistently. The pass rusher was not getting home on Zach Calzada. He's not been playing good at all. He really lit them up. He had a great game of the lifetime, really. He did so good for them. Henry Chioto has kind of struggled as a run defender in his own right, missing gaps, overshooting him. Will Anderson, though, he's having a big-time season off the edge. He's one of the nation's leaders in tackles for loss. Probably is the nation's leader, 11 of them already. Got, 3.5 sacks as well. He's playing very good football. The loss of Chris Allen, I think it's really kind of starting to stand out more than we thought it would. Just pass rush outside of Anderson and Federian Mathis on the interior, not been great. That combined with the run defense, kind of iffy. The secondary, incredibly deep, incredibly talented. I think Pete Golding just didn't have a great plan against Calzada, especially down the stretch. They didn't really adjust. They were getting beat down. They were getting beat on man coverage a lot. Malachi Moore being out really hurt. I think that's good for Alabama, though, especially after the Florida game. I think a lot of fans were like, okay, let's go ahead and lose so we can get punched in the mouth. Saban can coach us up. And I think sometimes that's the best thing, to lose a game, know what it's like to lose and get hit in the mouth, and then you'll come back better. I think this defense throughout the year will get better. Right now, it's been just not good. At number 4, the Cincinnati Bearcats. This team is right now in college football playoff hunt. They've beaten Indiana, Notre Dame. Again, it isn't resume-based. I truly think this is one of the top 5 teams in the nation. They have good balance. Jerome Ford, the former Alabama transfer, averaging 100 a game, 8 scores. Desmond Ridder, he's kind of relaxed as a runner this year. He's really showcased his improvements as a passer. He's progressed so well, especially downfield, moving guys with his eyes, putting the ball where it needs to be. Averaging, 261 passing yards per game, only 2 picks, a dozen scores. He's been so good for this offense. That's a big reason why they're averaging 41 per game. Even in those games against the Irish and Indiana, where they didn't particularly run the ball too well, he's been very good as a passer. Not enough can be said about that. They have a great repertoire of receivers. Guys like Alec Pierce, Michael Young, Trey Tucker, man. I love watching this guy. He can do anything as a runner, a pass catcher, put him in special teams. He is so good. Josh Wiley only has a handful of grabs, but he's very impactful for this passing attack. They're really hard to slow this offense down, especially when they're playing defense the way Luke Fickell wants to. They've only allowed 400-plus yards once in the last 15 games, so all of last year and so far this year. The defensive line's had a bit of a slow start. Majah Sanders hasn't been producing incredibly well. Curtis Brooks, too, but they're still making their presence felt, I think. Malik Vaughn's really stepped up. Darian Beavers at middle linebacker. You knew he'd be the story of this defense coming into the year. He's been here for numerous seasons. I was wondering who would step up at that position still, though. Ty Van Fossen, I thought he was going to be a premier player for them this year. It's not like he's been bad, but Deshaun Pace really stood out at linebacker. This defense all around playing very good. They're still playing similar principles in terms of man coverage on defense. Ahmad Gardner, Anquan Bush, that is stepping up. Gardner, though, still one of the nation's top corners. Kobe Bryant, Javon Hicks, and Brian Cook, too. All seniors. In the back end, veteran defense. I love what they're doing on offense. This is a good football team. Don't disrespect them whatsoever for being number 4 or number 3 in the AP. This team is legit. Looking at number 3, Iowa Hawkeyes. We'll start with their defense. These guys are elite. Zan Valkenburg. He was going to be one of my big breakout players in the Big Ten coming into the season. He's been playing great off the edge as a run stopper, as a pass rusher too. This defensive front, Joe Evans, John Wagner, they don't exactly get home, but they penetrate, they disrupt. It won't still show up on the stat sheet, but it will on the film. 2 great linebackers in Jack Campbell, Seth Benson. This secondary, though, 3+ interceptions in all 4 games versus FBS schools, or Power 5 schools, that is, this year. These guys are legit. Terry Roberts is going to now step up for Riley Moss. He's going to be out a couple weeks with a freak knee injury. It's not season-ending, though, so that's good. Matt Hankins, though, on the other side, has just been so good. Him and Moss. No-fly zone, really. This pass defense is legit. They do a lot of things in this cover, too. Just makes it hard to throw on, especially when the defensive line is very disruptive. They do a great job of slowing down the run. Typical, disciplined, fierce Iowa defense. These guys will play all 4 quarters, and they'll I think Kirk Herbstreit said it's like boxing these guys for, let's see what you're made of late in the rounds, and they'll usually win late in the rounds. That's how good this defense is. These guys don't break. Guys like Justin Jacobs, Evans I just mentioned earlier, backups are being instrumental for this defense. Very talented. Every year, though, they have a lineman break out. You never heard of. Lucas Van Ness is the man this year. After losing Nixon last year, the conference's player of the year, he's been the one to step up. The offense, though, they've not been great. Completely revamped the offensive line. Cody Anise, Jack Plum, I thought they would be the starters at tackle. They've moved them out. Size has been a big problem. They're one of the smallest offensive lines coming into the year. Tyler Linderbaum, of course, at center. He's the best lineman in football. There's no debate about that. But they're still trying to figure things out in the tackle. They're trying to get better push because this running game, the way they like to play football is they like to run the ball, set up their defense for short fields, go play action. Petros is good for what they want to do, which is just that, run the ball. They can't be asking him to carry him to wins, though. I don't really have confidence in him to do that. He's missing open guys on bootlegs still. Just a very inconsistent passer. Sam Laporta, a chain mover. Nico Ragini's really stepped up a receiver. Tyrone Tracy's plenty capable of more. I'd like to see him get the ball more. Charlie Jones. I think they're capable guys. They're not going to go, I don't think, win one-on-one matchups against, say maybe an Indiana defense. I don't think they're going to win matchups against those corners, the Buckeyes, when they continue to progress. So they're going to have to be able to run the ball so they can mix things. Ohio State, I have them at number 2. Mainly, why this offense? Very good. C.J. Stroud, 10 touchdowns over the last 2 games, 700-plus yards. He's starting to do damage as a passer. They're starting to click with those pass catchers. And Olave, Smith, Najiba, Garrett Wilson, they're all having great years. They'll already have 400-plus yards. They're probably going to have 3,000-yard receivers. Travion Henderson scored in every single game this year as a runner, or as a running back. 11 total scores on the year. He himself has almost 800 total yards of offense. They're just clicking. The offensive line, Fairmont, third, Nicholas Petit-Frere. As expected, these guys are just doing so good on offense. They're averaging 48.5. I think it's the nation's best. Their defense starting to make some strides after removing Kerry Combs from play calling duties. Of course, they haven't played much. They looked good against Maryland. Rutgers had a little bit of success. Not really, only 13 points. Kind of came in garbage time. Tulsa absolutely flamed them, though. Since then, they've yet to allow 400 yards as a defense. Zach Harrison's playing much better. Skell Garrett as well. Tyleik Williams at defensive tackle. him and Antoine Jackson have really stepped up. This defensive line is elite. Guys like Jack Sawyer, Tio Molo, talent everywhere. The linebackers are still making some strides with Cody Simon, Terjada Mitchell. So they're still kind of iffy. We'll see how they do against the better offenses down the stretch. Same with their secondary, very young. They recruited very well, though. And losing Josh Proctor really hurt. I think they're making strides in the right direction. Still, the jury's out on them. I'd like to see Tyreek Smith play better. I know he's been injured. I'm not sure what the extent of it is, but I know when he comes back, he's going to be leaned on to help give some pass rush, help the secondary out. But right now, number 2, solely because this offense is phenomenal. Looking at number 1, the Georgia Bulldogs, they're averaging 5.5 points per game. That's insane. Scoring about 40. Stetson Bennett has been mainly the passer so far this year. He's been much better than he was last year in a similar role. An above-average game manager, I guess you could call him. He's making good throws when they ask him to, especially downfield. Ladd McConkey has stepped up because, they're one of the most beat-up teams in all of college football. They're looking really good so far. They love this offensive line's been getting a great push. They love to spread it around in the backfield. Kendall Milton, he's getting a good amount of touches. James Cook as well. I'd like to see him get a little bit more, though, when we play tougher competition. We'll see how that goes. Zamir White, though. This football team never has great individual performances on either side of the ball, but they play very good. That's the case this year on offense. Well, on defense, Jordan Davis, nowhere to be found really on the stat sheet, but he's a Heisman finalist right now. He's playing so good, very instrumental, Aaron Donald-type ball. Devontae Wyatt, Jalen Carter, tremendous size on this defensive line. Adam Anderson is stepping up as expected as a pass rusher. Secondary, though, I think the jury's still kind of out on them. Nakobe Dean as well, linebacker. I forgot to mention him. He's one of the nation's top run stuffers. Secondary, not playing great. I wouldn't say they haven't really been tested too much. They dominated the line of scrimmage so much against Arkansas. They weren't able to get tested. There's no time at all for KJ Jefferson to throw the ball. That wasn't the case for Bo Nix. He had a little bit of time. He also made a lot of plays with his legs. These guys got beat downfield, multiple 20-plus yard receptions, almost had 300 yards of offense passing for Auburn. Very young secondary. Christopher Smith hasn't exactly been healthy the last couple of weeks. Tyke Smith, he's now just joined the lineup in the slot. Lewis signed, one of the lone veterans back there. Darren Kendrick, too, coming over, but he's still new to this Dan Lanning defense. So the secondary, jury's still kind of out on them. Keely Ringo, he's playing good, though, showcasing his ball skills. I think he already has 5 pass breakups. Latavius Burney, another one of those guys who they need healthy. He's one of those, him and Sion, the only real veterans back there in this system. So we'll see how they do against Kentucky and for the remainder of the year. I think that's their biggest question mark right now is giving up big plays. That's kind of been the issue at the moment. Other than that, though, the defense is playing elite. The front seven has been so dominant. They haven't really been tested. But we'll see how it goes. But Georgia, unquestionably, the nation's #1 team right now.